Hello, I'm Natasha Poliszczuk. I'm a journalist and the content director of BookBrunch, which is the website dedicated to the publishing industry. Thousands upon thousands of corporate and individual subscribers depend upon us for their daily news, and it offers unparalleled expertise and experience. Because I'm not a woman who believes in one platform but many, I also write a Substack, Bookish, and I am a huge exponent for debut novelists and children's literature. It's one of my huge passions. So it is a huge honour to be here today. And thank you very much for hosting us and for joining us. We're going to start with Ken Jones, who is the founder and director of CircularSoftware, which offers expertly tailored software training and advice to publishers, such as Quarto, Simon & Schuster, Pan Macmillan and Bonnier, just a few of the minor names, to enable them to maximise the efficiency and quality of their digital and print output. He works for Penguin Group for several years, so he has an insider's real-life understanding of what publishers really need.
Okay, over to me.
Over to you, Ken. Take it away.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen, so let's click that and hope that everything works. Can you see my screen okay?
Yep.
Okay. So yes, I'm Ken Jones, a founder of CircularSoftware, and today I'm talking about Masterplan, which is one of our products. And it's all about getting the insides of our beautiful books exposed securely wherever we want. So your publications on the web, but on your terms. If you tell a book publisher, we're going to put your books on the web, they go, whoa, hold on a minute, we need to be in control of that. So let me show you exactly how you can choose exactly which parts of which books to which sites and which people you can share. So it can be every page, it can be every word on every page that you want to present on preview. And there's a work in progress element, so it can be fed with books that are still in creation. So an InDesign file can actually feed an online living flat plan whilst we're working. But otherwise, if your publication has been published or is ready to go, then PDFs, EPUBs, and even just a set of JPEG files will do. So you can feed the master plan in any way. And it's an online version as well as a desktop version to do that very quickly and easily. And then you can embed them into the sites that you want. So it doesn't have to be just your site. It can be the site of maybe the illustrator or the author that you want to also share the content with. And you can choose exactly what bits of the books and which books you can allow to be shared. And then from there, I'll show you in a little demo in a minute. We can share them out to where we want, either as links or as social posts. So usually you just see the cover of a great book. Here's the cover. Maybe here's the button to buy it. And it's rare that you actually see the insides or the full of the insides, which are, especially with children's publishing, other beautiful parts of the books that we want to see. So look, we're now ready for a live demo. So let me try that. So I'm going to make maybe I should start my browser. And one of our customers is Bonnier. This is an implementation of Masterplan called BookSite. And this is a way that we can see lots of books in nicely presented shelves. So if we go to a particular imprint, perhaps Where's Spidey 2 is the book that we want to see inside. And this is all live data coming from like an Onyx feed or a Biblio feed. So it's always up to date. But this here is the bit I'm talking about mostly today. This is the master plan. Now we have here a slider. So it's nice retina quality. Should we pick one? There we go. I can go full screen. Tell me if this works on this screen share. Is that now gone full screen for you guys? Yeah. So I don't know how long we've got, but where is Spidey? He's in this scene somewhere. Maybe we should have a prize. I don't know how long we've got. Anybody? I'll tell you, he's here. I don't know if you can see. Oops. Oh, that's the next page. He's tucked behind this big robotic arm thing in this particular spread. So this is just allowing me to go straight into every page. So this particular publisher, there was a login that I quickly went through to be allowed into the site. And once we've been invited into the site, they're actually selling the rights to these publications through this site. So they do want everyone to see every page once they're in. So it's nice, retina quality, large images. Let's go for another one. So Templar, searching for Spinosaurus. Here is another book. I don't want to spoil the whole book, but we can get right to the end if we want to. But I can just be clicking through these pages, and I can again go full screen or zoom in to this part of this particular book. Okay, so once you've got so many books in a site like this, we had to think of a way to actually search or filter the books. So there is literally over 1,000 books on this particular book site. And I was going to do a search up here for dog. So here are 5 books that have all got dog, and it could be the author, it could be the illustrator, or in this case, the name of the book. Clicking on one of these takes me again into these product pages. So this is all sort of being made and updated daily from the content. So this book was started, it didn't look like this when it was started, but now we've got a full view of this quite long book, 128 pages of all the dogs in this particular book. Oh yes, it's searchable too. So if I can remember how to spell Dalmatian, there you go. It finds the spread, and there is a Dalmatian. He's got a fireman's hat on for some reason. We can find out why, because he's in America, fire stations have a fire dog as a mascot. So that's why in this book, it's pretty cool that if we have a particular dog that we want to look at, we can find it. And just imagine this book, 128 pages, so maybe 60 useful spreads that we can now have 60 things to share about this one particular book. So, and that's one of the 1,000+ books on this particular site. So it doesn't have to be a site like this. Of course, we could talk about that. But let's go back to just a single book shared on our own site. So on the master plan page, for those other particular web pages, we had an embed that was taking up part of the page. But this one, I can actually just click and it will overlay from a button. So I'm just clicking on any button. It could be a link on a page, and it's just, you don't have to redesign your site to have a master plan added to it. Again, it's searchable and scalable and responsive. And now this book was actually uploaded as a PDF. So as I go through, it has a nice different sort of page view. We can say that it should be viewed as spreads. So it can always be viewed as spreads for a beautiful picture like this. Let's I'll show you another one actually. So here is a quarto book, which has got lots of, I quite like this book, lots of interesting facts, but also mixed with a lot of great humor for this particular title. And I thought I would show you actually how it's being managed. So if I, make myself a new page and show you a little bit of the back end of this particular book. So this is on the right hand side. This is the whole book being managed. It's got a nice admin side, but on the web, on the site, this particular, you can see there's only 12 spreads allowed to be shared. So I'm going to move the Zoom box there. There you go. So if I log in as an admin person, I can actually choose which of these spreads are being shown and which aren't. So maybe the orca I want to switch off, and the centipede I want to switch on. And it's even time limited, so we can say switch it on for the next day or the next minute, or as much as we want. I can say, let me just save and publish that. And on this side, you can see it's actually refresh. Did I save and publish? Oh, look, I did it for a minute. That was a bad. That was a bad idea. I love live demos. No, I'm not going to say it's for a minute. I got carried away. There we go. And here he is. So this centipede that wasn't being shared and an orca that was, I can quickly go behind the scenes and choose whether I want to share that. Excuse me. And I mentioned earlier that I can share that out. So this particular spread, I could share to Facebook. It's always interesting opening up your Facebook in front of everyone, but there we go. So it's taken that graphic from that particular spread and it's posted it for me. So this is, I'm under pressure here to be funny. So I'm just going to put, woo, centipede. Okay. And I'm going to share that. So that graphic is now ready and it's actually sharing the link to the site that shared it. So it doesn't bring you back to master plan. It brings you back to the site that shared it. So if I actually close that page and click on the link, it opens up the page and it shows you the spread that was actually shared. So that could be next to the buy now button or the, you know, find out more, or, you know, and if this was shared from your site and I allowed it to be shared from your site, it would take people back to the site that shared it, even if it's the same content. So the publisher is always in control of the content that's being shared, and it's taking people back to the site that it's shared on. Now, I'll just do one more because it's not just for our lovely visual books. If we've got a book that I want to share a particular part of, there you go, let's just select a section. This is a nice responsive and accessible reader of an EPUB. This is a reflowable EPUB. We support audiobooks and fixed layout EPUB also. But if I was to share this one, I'm going to share a link to, I've started using Blue Sky. You know, I think it's nice, the nicest of all of the social sharing sites. Look at that. It's taken the share that I've made and given me if I post it, clicking back on that, takes me back to the site that I shared it from. I think you get the idea. I think I've actually shared, I've got a few of these lined up ready for the book fair, you see. So sharing different ones from different sites will take you back to the site that shared it. Okay. That nearly went exactly as I wanted. And as I wanted to just finish by saying, we've got some bullet points. So publications can be streamed if you like. You're still in charge of the content, but you're saying where it can be shared. You can share just the spreads or the sections that you choose. You can share the content, and that can change by who's actually looking at it, the roles or the users. It can be combined with product data. And the social sharing can be extracts from the book or previews. And it can then pull the readers back to the sites that shared them. So hopefully there's a bit of a whirlwind demo, but if you wanted to see more, please come and see me at the London Book Fair. We've got a stand there. So circular.software/LBF to set up a meeting. Or if you can't make it to that, then circular.software/meet. We can meet online like this, and I can be a little bit less frenetic and I can talk to you properly. Okay. Hopefully you've got the idea, and if there's any questions, I'm happy to hang around and talk to you later.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Ken. Absolutely. If you have questions, please pop them in the chat and we can disseminate them later. You don't have to wait for London Book Fair. You've got a private audience all of your own now. Our second speaker today, we are so lucky to have three, is Sanjee de Silva. Now, this is a man who is bringing the magic of books to life. He wants to make reading fun, he wants to break down socioeconomic barriers, and he does that by working as publisher at the multi-award-winning, I believe, independent publisher Sweet Cherry Publishing, which aims to make reading joyful and inclusive and available to all children aged 0 to 14. It sounds wonderful. Sanjee, please tell us more. Oh, Sanjee, we can't quite hear you.
There you go. Is that better? Sorry.
Yes, you were on mute. You were on mute.
Everyone was leaving and I didn't want to subject you to all the goodbyes.
No, not at all. Take it away.
Yeah, so publishing, very interesting indeed, especially children's publishing. The reason why we exist is we were founded 12 years ago by the youngest of an immigrant, Abdul. He started this business as a nice to do. He already had a super successful business being an online retailer. And he decided, you know what, there are still books that don't really represent his children. His children basically couldn't see themselves in books. So he decided, you know what, why don't I try publishing myself? So this started 12 years ago, but actually it was a bit of a punt. He created his first ever box set, and being Asian, he saw this wonderfully, really small print run price for a massive 20K order and decided, you know what, I'm just going to order it. Little did he know what a 20K order would look like when it arrived in his warehouse. But by the end of that fourth quarter, he sold the whole 20K and Sweet Cherry was born. And that really is how we got started. So we'd always, to this day, as the most recent publisher, me, my job was to stay true to what his original intention was, which is to serve our community right here in Leicester. And genuinely, this is what I do every day, certainly every week. What that looks like is I go to a school a week, and that could be a primary school, a secondary school, or a university, because we have we have DMU here, so it's really easy. And more recently, special education needs schools. So what that looks like is I go to this school, I do similar talks to this about publishing, it could be about marketing, we do writing workshops, reading workshops, but really, we all know what Sanjee's really doing there. He's finding out what the community needs and what they want to read. So that's always super, super fun. And then I bring it back here to the office and we discuss it and we basically create the books for the kids. We're really lucky. Kids come here to do some user testing for us. More recently, we have had lots of special education needs kids come and visit us and we go to visit them. But this really is a collaboration, and collaboration is kind of one of the major words for us here at Sweet Cherry, because we don't really have a hierarchy. We're all learning. It's a school of publishing every day and anyone can pitch a book idea. Our real aim is to find that little USP, that little something different that brings a child to a book. We also appreciate different taste levels, and there are different reasons why a child may want to read, and we try and lean into that all the time. So it could be something like somebody will walk in and be like, oh, we seem to be losing, kids around that 11, 12, 13 age, as they have to do a little bit more reading at school. So we were just like, oh, how do you think we could address that? And that's always what it is with us. We have a problem first, and then we go find the solution. So the solution for, we felt, the teen that needs to get back into books is a booksicle. Because it's that classic thing of where are we losing them? Where are they going when they're not here? And we find that these kids like to go on Spotify and start listening to music. They start getting into music and stop reading. Goodness me. So I created this concept of a booksicle, a book with music. So in the story, it's the original romance story, because there's no romance in it. It's about two friends who become best friends working at a froyo shop. Basically, they spend their spare times writing songs about, you know, the guys they like, or, you know, annoying situations in life. But actually, the songs are real. So the idea being that there's a playlist attached to this book, and the QR code is in the book, and the children can download this or listen to it on any platform that shares music that they happen to visit. And they can then hear the songs, but then also the songs bring them back to the book because they feel really excited because they're like, oh, that's what the character sounds like. Oh, I remember that scene. That's why the character wrote this. And it's, you know, written very ably by the songwriters for Blackpink, which is was at the time when we're doing, was one of the biggest K-pop bands on the planet. And, you know, we were really lucky to get the songwriters to participate. But that's the kind of crazy levels we will get to you know, engage a child in a book, and that we were really lucky was shortlisted for, you know, awards, etc. But again, that wasn't the reason why we did it. The authentic reason was, you know, we felt like, oh, actually, when we go to visit these schools, they tell us very honestly, oh, we don't want to read that, or we want to engage with that, and we find out why, and they're like, oh, because, you know, we've got books all day at school, and we want to go home and, you know, watch Netflix or listen to music. And we're like, okay, let's address it. And that's literally why what we do is because to fix a problem, which is why I think the most game-changing thing we've ever done in the 12 years was to create the special educational needs books. So that's the thing that I felt was, you know, I've always said, oh, what's going to be the thing that really makes us stand out in a crowd? And that ended up being the thing. And all it was something super, super simple. We had a very audacious young lady who'd worked in the special educational needs community for 17 years, come to this very office and book an appointment with me. And one of my other things I do is I never say no. It's a huge problem. So I have to see everyone. And she is exactly the reason why you have to see everyone. But yes, sure, you have to read 1,000 manuscripts to get that one manuscript. And yes, you have to shake 1,000, you know, I worked out it's about 20 hands before you get the deal. You know, we all have that number. But, you know, Emma was one of those people that I just gave an hour of my time. She had the audacity to consider herself an author. And I felt like I didn't understand what was going on. So I really explored what makes you think you're an author. And she quite rightly said, well, you know, you make these Frankenstein books. I have to rewrite them for my children. And I was like, what do you mean you have to rewrite them for the children? Offended. And she said, yeah, because the children that I teach, the special educational needs kids, unfortunately cannot access this book. Now, I thought I was great at publishing, and I thought these books they're brilliant, for goodness sake. You even get, you know, free audio inside, which I say is a cheat for any child. Because one of the other things I do when I go to schools is I try and convince the children to basically take one of our books and trade with their parent. So you are supposed to take the book, go to your parent, and you say, what would you do? What can I have if I read this? Because we all know the parent, by the way, wants you to read this. Facts. So what you do is the parent's like, I don't know, what do you want? You're like, oh, more screen time, stay up later, ice cream, treat, whatever you want, you would trade it for this book. So now here's the thing, kids. I'm going to tell you a little secret. Once you get what you want, you go upstairs. And what you do is your parents don't know what you're up to, but this is what you're up to. You open the book and guess what? Sanjee has snuck in a free audio. No app required. So you don't even have to go back down and ask the parent, can I download this app? As soon as you check that QR code, it goes straight into the audio. You just sit back and relax in your bed. Just enjoy the book. The book reads itself because it's magic. And guess what? 36 minutes later, you can go back downstairs and claim your prize. The idea being that, you know, the parent will be like, I don't think you really read that book. And you'd be like, test me. and then you'll be able to pass the test and get whatever you want. And that was kind of our first like collaboration. We're in cahoots with the child and against the parents and say, this is how you get what you want to get it. So she took these books that look like this and then said to me that we need to rework it and make it more accessible to children, which looked like this. So what she meant was the special educational needs kids, just so that you can compare. So this is the original book, and this is the special educational needs book. Have you noticed, first thing to notice, they kind of look the same. And that was, again, decided. If I was a publisher with my publishing brain on, there's no way I'd be able to sell that to a retailer, because the retailer will be like, that's super confusing. But for an SEND child, one of the things that they told me personally was, we don't want to be made to feel different. So we want the books to look the same. So which is why we made sure that to be truly inclusive, we did the exact same cover. There are small identifiers with the logo here. And of course, when you turn the back, a grown-up can see exactly what's going on with this book. So the difference in the inside is like this. Can you see? So you have the text all on the left side and the illustrations on the right, whereas in the original book, the illustration text all work together. But this is important for a special educational needs child because every page, every spread looks the same, so they know exactly what to expect. It's abridged further, so it's really cognitively accessible to a child, and is dyslexic-friendly font, which is very important, with dyslexic-friendly paper. And when we come to the odd tricky word every few pages, there is actually glossary on the actual page to explain. So we do not make a child flick back and forth on a book. Everything they need is in the book, on the pages that they're looking at, which is super important. And to help, we've also done our usual audio, but this time you can speed it up, slow it down. And we've also done the glossary words in there as well. So if a child who maybe comes to a tricky word and feels like, actually, how do you pronounce the word? Well, there's an audio dedicated to how to pronounce it. So like this is, again, something we did because we wanted our books to be accessible. We wanted everybody included. But obviously the problem here was not every child was actually included, because when you go to a special educational needs school, you understand very quickly that there are children that can read this book, and then there are children who are maybe autistic or dyslexic who need this book. But then you find out, to my horror, that there are children who need this book. This is the third one. And hopefully you've never seen anything like this. Has anyone heard of a symbolized book? So until I started going to SEND schools, I didn't realize that they use symbols to teach in schools, and therefore they needed symbols to read. So we started a whole reading scheme with these symbols, and the idea being that the symbols are a small indicator to a child to help them understand the word and to access the word. And, you know, when you're a publisher and you brought this opportunity and you think, okay, I'm going to do this because this is the right thing to do, because again, my community outside this door here says they need it, so I'm going to make the book. I did not expect this. This is not where I was thinking it was going, but it's that classic thing of, well, you made it for one child, are you really going to leave the second child out? And it's like, no, I'm not going to do that. So, you know, we made the symbolized books for those children. The symbolized books also comes with the Makaton, which is a form of sign language that they use in school. So it's a simplified sign language, really, really accessible. So we put that in. And I love it because they come with video as well as audio now, which is super exciting. And they have thought of everything. So what that looks like is all of the special education needs comes with a little fidget toy in the corner of the books, which actually is the logo and a toy all at once. And also with these accessible books, they have, for example, page 65. And if I can find page 65 in this book, it's exactly the same. But can you see the content is presented in different ways, so it's accessible. And I have to tell you, the universe is great because we're just doing what we think is right and putting it out into the world. But we launched it in London Book Fair, as in said, this is what we're doing. The first bit of publishing is coming out in March. And that summer, parents started to take schools to court, or local councils to court. And that all happened accidentally at the same time. No one planned it, complaining that resources were being taken away from their children, special education resources. And obviously, we were so lucky because we were there and we were able to go, we appreciate this problem for school. We'd already seen it, identified it. Do you realize if you buy these packs, you're going to cover a whole classroom without having to separate that classroom? So usually when I go to a school that is not a special education needs school, they would have different sessions with me where they would take children out of the classroom. And I would understand that, oh, that's because, this particular workshop I was running wasn't accessible. So this stopped anything like that from happening, because in one classroom, every child in the classroom could access the same book. And it's obviously so joyful to us, because it just means that, when they go for playtime, etc., they can talk about the exact same book. In a household where one of the siblings has a special education needs, both children can talk about the same book, which is awesome. By the way, there are more than those three, because there's one more child that cannot access the book. And the final child is the child that it's nonverbal and needs an iPad to communicate. So I was really lucky. I was being very only child stroppy, said, I really need my books in this iPad. And eventually one of my lovely human beings who work with me got me a meeting. And I said, why are you so reluctant to use my books so that your children? And they said it's because they've had conversations with publishers before, and unfortunately they haven't worked because of the expense. As publishers, we ask a lot in advance of sharing our content, and they said, we didn't really think it was worth it, but we've seen what you're doing now, so that's why we came to the meeting, but it's not going to work. So I made a deal that we wouldn't make money till they made money. So they would put it out there, and we'd be very transparent with how many pickups they get, and then when they get to a certain agreed figure, which allows them a little bit of profit as well, that's when we will start monetizing it. And this is something I think wouldn't happen anywhere else that I know of. We're not in it to monetize it. We're in it because we truly believe these children, we really believe in accessibility. Like, it's not a joke to us. So we really believe in the power of words and the power of books, the power of stories, and we will put our money where our mouth is. And that is why, regardless of all of the effort that we have put in, when you turn at the RRP, it's the same for every single one of these books, because we do not believe we should penalize a parent for having a special educational needs child. So we take that accessible thing super seriously, that building a community super seriously, that diverse, representation is not just a word for us. We really want to be inclusive for everybody. I'm here to talk about successes, so that's one of the things, but let's talk about failures, because that's the best part. For every book that does well, everybody should know that there is probably the equal amount, or probably even more, of books that doesn't do well. And it doesn't matter how much heart you've got. But, one of the books we wanted to do, which this is the only book since I've worked here that we had a unanimous yes from everybody. It's called Bipolar Blog. It's about explaining bipolar to a child. It's actually written by a bipolar author illustrator to explain to her daughter why sometimes mummy is unwell. We read the book. We all fell in love with it. Like I said, it was to this day, the only unanimous book that everybody said yes to, but it only ever sold 300 copies. So, you know, sometimes the good, you know, comes with the bad, and you just have to take it as it comes. Although he did sell Brazilian rights a couple of months ago, which was really exciting for us in-house. But, you know, as for every success, there's definitely more than one failure. But what keeps us going is, like every other publishing house on the planet, we have those evergreen products because we have been going for 12 years that we rely on to keep bringing the money in. So as I keep saying to people, we can do something a little bit different on the other side as well. That's a little bit more accessible, fun, and more to the heart. And that's kind of, I think, speaks for the whole of publishing. You know, a lot of publishers I know really rely on one to if they're lucky, more hero products in their list. It's kind of the way it is.
Sanjee, you are definitely bringing joy, but also it seems to me that you're anticipating problems and solving them before anyone else raises them.
No, I don't know if anyone's not raising them. I think the situation is people are saying it, no one's hearing it. Whereas, you know, we
already
just
anticipated it.
Sorry?
You've already anticipated it.
Yeah, we're like, here it is. It was ready to go.
And I definitely want to come back to some of your points, particularly vis-a-vis audiobooks, because of obviously we've seen today's news about how audiobooks are increasingly a gateway for children to read. However, it would be a shame not to speak to our guest from our host, Sarah Arbuthnot. I hope I've said that correctly, your surname, Sarah.
Yes, perfect.
Thank you. Sarah is, I mean, she is a queen, the chief commercial officer at our host, an e-commerce guru with years of experience in digital agencies, selling world-class brands. And I think that she's the woman who is fascinated by what makes consumers tick and knows how to reach them, because there's no point having an amazing product if you're not reaching the right people. So her mission is enable all of her clients to access books, and when she works with, is it over 300 brands to clients? Is that right, Sarah? Helping them achieve direct to consumer sales, because, you know, what we want is to get books into people's hands. And tell us how you do it, Sarah. Tell us your secrets.
Well, and that was a very big intro, so thank you. I mean, I don't actually do that much. The Supadu team do it all. And it's just so fascinating, Sanjee, hearing all this, because you are the publisher. And so Supadu's mission is to help publishers like you kind of expand market reach and kind of get those books into even more readers. So, which is the title of this slide, Why Do You Need a Good Website? For exactly that purpose, is to help publishers, which margins are often quite small in publishing. So drive more sales, get more sales so that you can kind of do more marketing, make more books, attract more authors. Good title publicity. You want to attract the authors, help those authors that you've got, and you can do this through your website. And of course, knowing your customers, knowing your readers. So again, Sanjay, all of the stuff that you were talking about the different types of children, you know, a lot of our publishers say this. And then I've got more sales there. And I've got a quote from actually one of our other children's publishers, Walker Books, who said, I said, why do you want a website? Why do you want direct-to-consumer website? And she was like, as a children's book publisher, it's essential for us to have a visually appealing, user-friendly platform that showcases our incredible books for all to see and all to read. And really, I think that's the mission of what we're trying to do here, is help. We work for publishers to help them increase their reach and reach more readers. Anyway, so what is a good website and a good e-commerce store? Metadata, we always start with metadata. The complete metadata is really important for a website, especially with children. So children engage with books. It's very visually appealing. It's all about the storytelling. It's all about interactivity. And so having that metadata and that content is really critical as a children's publisher. And then, of course, making it really easy to purchase. And I've been talking to lots of people, including Natasha today, like publishers think a bit like retailers. You know, one-click purchasing is really what you want to do. You don't want any barrier to buying that book. You want fast, effective product searching. So on a website, if you search for bipolar blob, you want a result to come up. We don't have this book, but we recommend this book. Website speed, I mean, we still put that in there because there are still, I mean, we work all over the world, so there's still many countries where that's kind of an issue, and they might not be on 5G or Wi-Fi. Accessibility, again, exactly what Ken and Sanjay was saying, the accessibility is absolutely critical. And then local languages. So a website is, and I was listening to somebody from Nosy Crow this morning at a conference where she was saying, Kate Wilson, where she was saying, you know, a website is a really good place to enter new countries and new territories, and was actually talking about the surgence of audiobooks and children's books within Brazil. So it's interesting to hear what you say about that as well. And then, of course, your e-commerce store. So e-commerce gives you so much data about your consumer, your reader habits, to maybe inform, you know, other authors you might attract, or other products or books or publications or activity materials you create. You want live, up-to-date stock. Another person from World of Books was talking about, you know, when you've got a book and you've engaged that reader, that purchaser, to click that buy button, oh, it's out of stock. That's not a great experience. And there's lots of things you can do, like notify me, or do third-party retailer links, considering print on demand, link with partnerships. And then also showing all the data and the information, the fees. So you want to show shipping and payments, so that when the customer comes to the checkout, they're not kind of left with anything they didn't know. And of course, seamless integration in distribution and fulfillment. And I'm going to bolt on to here the importance of good customer service as well, because again, as a website, you are a retailer. If you're selling your books online, even if to the third parties, like, you know, Amazon and bookstores and yourself, you are a retailer. So you may have the content, you've got all the stories, but you've also got a job to make it a really good user experience for those visiting you. And here is the dynamically fed website content. So this is the metadata. Oh, and there's Walker Books, actually. So this is one of our Shopify websites. So all that metadata that we're pulling in, there it goes. And I was asking another publisher today, I was like, why is it that sometimes, especially in children's publishing, he was a children's publisher, there's no book jackets? And I understand, you know, it's kind of hard because you might launch the book and the jacket covers because the authors haven't signed it off yet. But I thought it's quite an interesting thing of, is there more that publishers could do, children's publishers can do, where if you don't have the jacket cover, which does help sell your books 3 times more than when you don't. So that's a proven fact from, you know, Nielsen, Book Scan and everyone. What can you do? So think about, you know, you've got amazing visual illustrations, use those as placeholders if you don't have jacket covers. And of course, there's the live product information. And Lily, yes, thank you. Now, Supadu, we don't build bespoke websites. We customize our websites for book publishers. And we really are into the power of templates because they are accessible and we can control that. They're responsive. They're much more cost effective. I've just been talking about the margins of publishers. They're tried and tested, and also they're secure. So when people talk to you about a templated website, you may be like, oh, that's not really on brand. That's not true at all, because it's not really talking about the visual look of it. It's talking about like the back office, the boring bits, the metadata, automation into it. So they are important not to build from the ground up, because then, you know, you'll go out of date very quickly, and we all can see how quickly technology changes. you know, every month, especially with the surgence of AI and voice search and audiobooks. So that's what we do here. And then community engagement. So community engagement with children's publishing is a really important element that we take very seriously at Supadu, because it's helped building your brand identity and trust. But also the community, an engaged community, will be loyal to you, and they will buy and they will recommend and they will keep coming back. And actually children's publishers, and I'm sure, you know, Natasha, Ken and Sanjee, you know this more than me, but often when you talk to people about children's books, the reader, the parent, will know who the publisher is, much more so than if it's a trade title or a fiction title. They've heard of Penguin, they've heard of Walker Books, they've heard of Usborne, they've heard of Sweet Cherry Publishing. You know, all of these, and I'm sorry for everyone I haven't mentioned, all of them. But, you know, so they are, you know, parents are very much more invested in the brands of children's publishing and a safe, nurturing community than maybe more of the adult trade ones. Author websites are a great place to build community engagement, and how children's publishers can engage the authors. So if you're doing a promotion, if you're doing an online sale or money off, get your author to exit, tweet it, Facebook it, Instagram it, reel it, whatever. Blue Sky it if they're on there, although I'm not sure the parents might be yet. And it's a good way to kind of increase the reach of your brand and drive the community. And then author events, newsletter campaigns. I mean, this list goes on and on. I won't go through all of them because it will be in the handout. But the important thing is your community, engaging them and making sure you've got that one-click instant purchasing to drive up your sales. And it actually halves your cart abandonment rate, which is another thing we look at. And here's the e-commerce workflow. This is very linear. Behind this lovely linear diagram, all sorts of things are going on and bits of data are being flown everywhere, like through the internet, not literally. But yes, we've got the metadata import coming in. It's populating your website with the book jacket cover. And then you've got physical downloads and digital downloads through a cart, that one-click purchasing. And of course, third-party retailer links. We do recommend putting them in there because you want the consumer, you want the reader to make the choice. And then another key metric we're looking at is, so we're driving people to your website. So why aren't they buying? And we've got, you know, we don't want, the industry average is around kind of 65% of people don't kind of check out. So we don't want it to go kind of above that. We want to get it way down, and that's including organic traffic, and it's across like a whole e-commerce industry. So we haven't done a publishing specific study of that yet, but we're looking at top 6 reasons users fail to purchase, and 61% are extra costs. So that's what I was saying before. Be transparent. Don't have people have everything in their shopping cart and it says, you know, $25, and then checkout, it's like, oh, we forgot all these taxes. Oh, and you're going to pay that shipping. It's now $54. 35% don't want to create an account. Guest checkout is actually really quite important. And if you do guest checkout, and then you can email them afterwards saying, thank you for your purchase. Here's the money off if you drop your email in here, or, you know, a gift to give to your child, or there's lots of different marketing ways you can get them to sign up. But again, give them the option. 27% say the checkout process is too long or complicated, which may seem like not a very big figure, but it's important. You want, you know, it needs to be easy, it needs to be fast. And then 22% reported the website had errors or crashed. Now, this is kind of more skewed towards some of our adult ones where they use third-party carts really, rather than direct to consumer. ones, but it's still an important metric to look at. And then 18% didn't trust the online store. Generally, I think this means that the website's poor and they're like, doesn't look any like websites that I like to buy on. And this is my last slide. So it's just summing up for a successful website. So it's a website with live product information and lots of it. And, you know, this is the place that you can put in reading guides, activity plans, audiobooks, samplers, look inside, you know, a message from the author, put everything in you can. And then, of course, secure hosting, PCI compliant is very, very important. And consumers will be looking out for that. Accessibility, very important. And BISAC codes and good SEO. So that's all helping kind of discoverability. Lots of readers and users to your website are very ethically and sustainably minded, and they want to back independence. They want to back socially responsible businesses and companies. So if you do anything like that, put a stamp on it, tell them about it, because they will want to purchase from you more than the big giant online. Community building and engagement, which we've spoken lots of and got some really great tips from Sanjee and Ken. And then easy e-commerce. And then instant purchasing across sales channels. So your e-commerce, your website shouldn't just be stuck to your website. You know, your buy buttons can live anywhere. Give them to social media, newsletters, author websites, partners, other publisher websites, conference pages, you know, the list goes on, and drive them back to your checkout. And then analytics, learn from your successes. It wouldn't fit in the box here, but we also want to say learn from your failures. So look what failed and learn why, and then hopefully you'll get more successes. And thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. It strikes me that, in fact, what you're saying there aligns with what, you know, circling back to Ken, that you can use digital tools to help publishers create more engaging content. Can you, Ken, give us a bit of a steer on how some of your tools might help publishers creating those websites that are going to lure people in?
Well, yeah. So Master Plan, the idea actually came from ebooks and some of the interactive things and some of the frustrations that to get a well-made ebook to someone, there's a lot. You have to have an account and a particular device and with a particular operating system. So actually Master Plan started off as, look, here's the book, and it does work like that for an audiobook or for an interactive EPUB. You can just consume the book right there in the browser. But actually, when we showed it to publishers, they went, what, that our sales and our marketing people need that to sell actually the physical book. And you know, that's where it's probably found its, you know, real niche as just a way to open up in that secure way next to the buy button, or it's post it to a social site, etc. So yeah, it's using technology to share the physical book as much as anything.
And do you think that that sharing it, particularly on social media, sharing an image is better for discoverability? Is it more engaging? Do you have data to show that actually it promotes a higher click-through?
I think, like I said right at the start, that even, you know, major publishers' sites that just are showing the cover of a book and say it's £20. Here's the cover. You might get 4 spreads, or you know. This is a different way of it. It's searchable. It's totally, you know, you can allow people right into the book. And if we're talking about starting communities or memberships or mailing lists, etc., you could have different people have more early content, or you know, like a director's cut or extra content, depending on really down to the individual level who they are.
That's it's ingenious. I'd quite like to play with it myself.
Please do.
I will. And I mean, we all know that there are challenges in children's publishing. I mean, we've all read the National Literary Trust reports about how fewer children read for pleasure, how reading falls off as children get older, particularly with boys. I mean, there are some good, pieces of good news, like the audio is a gateway, particularly with boys. But Sanjee, I wondered if you could talk to us about what you think the biggest challenges are that you're facing at the moment.
You're the problem, not you, but the parents. So it's really, it's really no coincidence that reading for pleasure among grown-ups, those blinking grown-ups, has also fallen. And it's about, I think this is probably the second time I'm saying it out loud. It's about modeling good behaviors. When we want to use good, manners and habits around the table, we make sure that we practice that ourselves so the little people will copy us. And it's exactly the same for reading. I've said this before. We did a little experiment amongst our team here where we made a conscious decision that we would read in front of our kids. And a lot of us do read. The problem is that we read in bed or read after the kids are in bed. It's one of those things. So they never really see us reading. So we did this experiment, and the reaction from the kids, and on occasions when certain people read outside, for example, by the poolside while they were waiting for the children to finish their pool lessons, other grown-ups' reactions to our readers was also super, super curious, because they're grown-ups reacting to another grown-up and saying, like, why are you not on your phone? This is so strange. Like, everybody is really addicted to that screen time. So my biggest problem is us. We are the problem. So we have to model good behaviors if we expect little humans to copy us, which is super, super important. So I always say, there are two ways of accessing this. I was this child, so I get this child. I would learn something at school, and then I would go back home and teach my parents it. So I'm accessing it that way to say, reading's so good, you should probably do this. But in the same token, I'd really like the parent support. This becomes even more of a challenge in my community because we have a huge immigrant population, and unfortunately my children here only ever hear English at school and doesn't necessarily hear English at home, which is obviously heartbreaking for someone like me who's been brought up with books and have been read to, like, I think even far later than I should have been read to, just because I really, really enjoyed the experience, which is why we go into the community and speak to the parents and say, what can we do? And it's a real joy again at the effort that we put in and how it's received, because again, those QR audio codes has been really helpful to parents, because they can just cuddle up with the child and look at a picture book and point at things and enjoy and consume that picture book without having to feel like they have to do the voices or they have to read it or whatever. So that's a really nice thing. But the other benefit that's come with these audio books is something like, Sherlock. What we've noticed, or what we've been observing, is that when the kids go to school, the grown-ups are reading it. So they're actually using this as a tool, without the zero embarrassment factor of being able to play this audio and following along and teaching themselves English. And obviously Sherlock is content that's easily, accessible to an adult. And it's something that they would like to read anyway, but they probably can't. So it's been, that's like the happy accident that's happened after we put these books out. I can tell you loads of things. These SEND books that we put out for special education needs kids. We had a lovely day in the office when everyone was crying because we had a video. I wasn't crying because obviously I'm big and strong, but everybody else was crying because some carer had taken it into their care home where they worked, and dementia patients were using it to read. So there you go. Like, that's something again that we would never, ever, ever expect to happen. And it just is so amazing when, things like that happen to us.
And you're clearly ahead of the curve with your audio downloads. Do you have an eye out for any other trends that you think are emerging in children's publishing?
Oh my God, it's all I do all day long, every day. Honestly, I can't even, they never let me out. of here for this very reason, because I tell everybody everything, and like they're always like, please don't tell about these things. So for example, they were like, do not need to tell everybody that Bipolar Blog was not a success. I was like, oh my God, I have to tell everybody. Like, it's the thing. We have to tell everyone. So my job is to sit in spaces and talk to parents about what they need, but also to go, you know, okay, so we have these this like princess it's not even a trend, it's something that's forever going. And we were sitting there with the other mothers. I had spent the previous night stitching a dress for a birthday party, and I was really annoyed. Not that I had to stitch the dress, happy to do it, but I was annoyed that I had to stitch a princess dress again. You know, when the main protagonist in this Encanto, I'm sure if you've seen it, is a smart girl with curly hair. She's like super cute. And I'm like, why didn't they pick the smart? Why are they picking the flowery princess girl? And I just brought this up as a conversation while, you know, all the kids were on the bouncy castle. And it was really great to hear mums talk about this and say, I know. It's the thing. We've tried everything. I mean, we are so aware now. You know, we don't mind if little boys wear dresses. We don't mind if little girls play with, you know, hammers and cars or whatever. We don't really care. We're just like, go pick your toy. But it constantly keeps coming up that this is a thing with little girls, and it's absolutely fine. But again, what I love about, you know, having this responsibility of being a publisher is coming back, having a discussion with the office and saying, so I had a conversation with a ton of parents this weekend. Party went well. Also, by the way, annoying person that puts books in the party bags, apologize. That would be me. Also, so anyway, we were talking about how we can use it. So, you know, I came up with this idea of, I've decided over the weekend, I'm going to use the word princess for good. And everyone's like, tell us more. And I was like, well, I'm going to lean into this word princess and make a child pick up a book with that word princess. But obviously they're going to read this beautiful, what seems like a fairy tale princess story. But at the end, guess what? Ha ha, I made you learn something because this princess was actually real. And it's actually, you know, really a Disney-fied biography of somebody who's real.
That's wonderful. I love the word reclaiming princesses. Lily, I think we might be out of time. Is that right?
Yes, just about.
Brilliant. Well, thank you everyone so much for joining us. Do remember that if you have any questions, you can contact our speakers. You can come and see them at London Book Fair. I have found today terrifically illuminating and also hopeful about the future of children's publishing. Well, you just need a brilliant book and a beautiful website and some excellent tools, and hopefully the world will
takes a village.
It takes a village.
Yes.
We're all
Takes a village.
all part of the community. This community to engage the readers of tomorrow and keep them forever. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.